I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
my head up.
I'm from South Carolina, so I just
Got it.
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Mars?
Oh, my heart,
Happy 20th anniversary.
my heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Done.
and dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself. There's
The doctor lived next door to the janitor, to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Doni, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it all the more.
letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
First name's Doni, last name's Glover, in it to win it for the long haul, baby. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Alexandria, top of the morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning, Doni. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Listen, I'm living the dream and every day just making it happen.
Well, that's all right. Let's tell them a little bit about who you are. Alexandria Adams, all the way from, where are you from? East Baltimore, West Baltimore? What do you claim?
So I live in West Baltimore.
Claiming West Baltimore. You've been here, what, 22 years?
22 years. Yes, sir.
And originally from the great city of what, Portland?
Portland, Oregon is where I hail from and grew up.
All right. And then you make your way to Baltimore and you're running Elev8. What is Elev8? You know, Westmore used to always sign his letters, something like hashtag Elev8, or he would sign off all his letters. Is Westmore a part of Elev8?
He is not. He can be an honorary member or an honorary supporter of us, but he is not affiliated with us organizationally. What Elev8, we are a nonprofit organization that partners with schools, families, in the community to ensure that every student is prepared for high school, college, career, and life. And we do that through all kinds of programmatic opportunities that are situated primarily in school communities.
Okay, so in 2012, you brought your expertise to the Family League. I think Damon is down there now, formerly deputy mayor. And then, well, I understand you were instrumental in deepening the organization's approach to community school engagement. It's a big fancy word, a big fancy term. What does that mean to the layperson? We know Baltimore has its challenges, with schools and all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What community schools is a strategy that braids together opportunities to create the conditions for student success. And we use schools as a vehicle for ensuring that all young people have access to what they need to succeed. And we understand as a strategy that young people do not sit in isolation of their families. So inherently, we're doing family engagement. And because families live in communities, that means we're doing community engagement. And because communities are part of the city, that means we are doing everything we can organizationally to create a better Baltimore for all Baltimoreans.
Are you pleased with the school system?
It depends. It depends on what the topic is. I think that we are in a better position now than we have been in the past, but there's still a lot of work to go and a lot of growth to happen in the school system. I think that we have some tremendous principals that really do care about creating an environment where young people are thriving. And we have a lot of really eager teachers that really want to do good work. I think where we're challenged in the city is that we are resource strapped and the school system can't do it alone. And community-based organizations like Elevate can't do it alone. So we do have to work hand in hand in order to create a better educational system for our young people because they deserve the absolute best. But I'm also I also believe that the system is doing exactly what it's been designed to do, which is oppress. Systems are designed to oppress. They are not designed to uplift people. And it is our obligation as community to hold them accountable and to call a spade, so to speak, and to make sure that we as community members have a seat at the table.
Can we keep it a buck on this show?
100.
The Maryland State Lottery, between the lottery and then O'Malley came along with table gambling. They wouldn't let Early get it in there, but they came in with table gambling. Then we got sports casinos. I'll never forget the day that I saw Kevin Hart doing a commercial here in Baltimore.
For online betting.
And I'm saying, dude, you got 200-300 mil. Why are you doing this commercial? Why are you encouraging our people with yet another vice? So you say we're resource strapped, right? And you know, otherwise, I love Kevin Hart. You know, other than that movie, he was braiding the dude's hair. I just thought that was a little weird. But are we resource strapped?
So I think that's a really great point, Doni. I would say that the state is not always resource strapped, and there are resources. I think where we are bound is that there are political favors that are always made behind the scenes. And this is why it's so important to empower community members and shows like yours that really highlight where there is discrepancies. And, you know, when we say, you know, the school system doesn't have resources, they don't have a lot of resources, but what they do also have a lot of money, right? It is probably I think the largest budget in the largest school system budget in the state. And the reality of it is, are they spending those dollars wisely? And are they aligned with community efforts? Because I think one of the things that school systems fail to remember is that their customer is families. Their customers are the community members and the children that attend those schools. And if families don't feel like those resources are being properly allocated, then they're being done a disservice, no matter how good and well-intentioned those funding resources are being spent at the school level. So I think that there's some opportunities for realigning the available resources to better meet the needs of young people. But, you know, I think we're better than we used to be, particularly when we're talking about the fair student funding model and how we did work really hard to bring the blueprint into law so that there's a weight around concentration of poverty for the educational funding system. And the reality of it is that it's just not education that needs a poverty index or a poverty weight. It's all funding attached to communities, because it's not just the education system that has been disinvested for generations. It's the infrastructure. We're seeing that with, you know, BG&E and the rates going up because the infrastructure has to be upgraded, and that costs money from somewhere. And we have to figure out as a city, how do we manage that?
So you okay with higher gas and electric bills? You're saying we all got to pay for it?
I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with it. But what I'm also not okay with is the aging infrastructure that we have in this city. There should be no reason why that, water mains are breaking every 5 minutes. There should be no reason why that, in the country that we are in one of the wealthiest states in the nation, that our infrastructure in Baltimore City is what it is. I don't think that raising the rates is the answer, but I also try to understand the economics of things as well.
Okay, well, economically, now they used to put it online, how much money the Maryland State Lottery brought in, but I know they've garnered billions since 1973, and I know Black people play numbers as much as any other community.
Sure.
You go into any location, and it's always interesting is to watch those serious lottery players, to watch them order their tickets, box, three-way, got them written down, 333, 627, 724. But they renovated Camden Yards. They built a Ravens Stadium. They promised money for education, but we got schools without heat. Why?
I think that
doesn't it say
yeah,
that education is really not our priority? We're just using education as this carrot, and the real goal is money, greed.
I would absolutely agree with you on that point, Doni. And our young people see that as well. They see how we are investing the dollars that come into the city, and they're not dumb. They actually can articulate and they say to me, Miss Alex, the city doesn't care about us. And I'll question them and ask them why. And they say, because you spend the money on this, the money doesn't come to us. Our schools don't have, all of the things that we want it to have, so that we're excited to come to school. So, you're absolutely right. The money is not, the priority is not education. We can pretend and say that young people are a priority in this city, but they absolutely are not always a priority. And when it comes down to spending the adequate dollars needed to ensure that young people have a high quality 21st century education, we're always jockeying around, what makes sense. Are we gonna, give a tax break to a wealthy millionaire / billionaire who wants to build something in the Inner Harbor? Are we going to divert those resources for, fancy opportunities that come into the city that young people and families and communities don't have the ability to attend? So, I think that's correct, that we don't necessarily prioritize education, but for me, in terms of how I live my life and how I choose to exist in this world, I'm going to do everything that I can to prioritize young people and to prioritize opportunities for community and with community.
Last night, I saw the most interesting flyer. Councilman Antonio Glover, no relation, but Antonio, the councilman, held a community meeting. And what caught my eye on the flyer says school board meeting. And that's Wednesday. Normally the school board meeting is on Tuesdays. So I realized he's bringing the school board to his district. I thought that was refreshing. Have you ever been to a school board meeting?
Yes, I have definitely been to the school board meetings. I used to attend them very regularly when the primary way of attending them was in person at North Avenue. Now I mostly attend them virtually and monitor what's happening. But it is great to see that there's a new kind of attention paid to the school board meeting in communities, because sitting at North Avenue at an ivory tower is not how you get the pulse of community. And it is great to see that, Councilman Glover and others are pushing the school system to meet in community and to meet with community members and sit in spaces that young people sit in every single day, and not just float in, float out when you're doing a site visit.
Why they crack slick on parents when parents want to say something?
I didn't see the meeting, so I can't
No,
comment.
not last night, but
Oh, okay.
historically, 30 seconds. We have a local Baba, Charlie Duggar. He first took me on the radio in 1980, but he would and he ran for mayor a couple of times, but he would always say how he got treated. He's an educator, longtime educator. He would always say 30 seconds, Mr. Duggar, mocking how the school board would treat him.
Yeah.
Now, granted, everybody can't speak at the school board meeting. And I'm glad that you have a partially elected one now. But what's up with those people?
I think that there are times where boards will lean into, procedures as a way to shield them from having to address the truth. And I think accountability, right? And I think that that's what we see sometimes at the school board level, and I also would say we see it at the city council level too. When we have when folks come for public comment, and recognized groups are speaking truth to power, and they get cut off immediately. But then there are other groups that are allowed to continue on a long tangent for well past their assigned period of time. So, it is nothing but privilege and access, in my opinion, how certain individuals are shackled with time's up, limits up, wrap it up. I'm sorry, we're going to have to cut you off. And then, immediately cutting folks off mid-sentence and then requiring them to submit the rest of their testimony in writing, which I try to live in a space of good faith that folks are reading those written testimonies, but that, I don't know how we hold how we hold folks accountable to written testimony. I've never fully,
grasp
with myself, right? I can send a letter to anybody, and do I know that I can ensure that they received it? I don't have any sort of acknowledgement that they've read it.
One last thing. Are Black parents showing up as we should as it relates to public education? Are we showing up?
I think we are showing up. I think where we're misconstruing showing up with is balancing priorities around basic life necessities. So if a mother or a father or a family has to make a decision of whether or not I'm going to work in order to keep a roof over my children's head, or I'm showing up at a parent-teacher conference, we are demonizing those parents for making a decision around a basic necessity. So I would argue that our families care just as much about their children and their children's education as affluent families do. We just have to make different decisions on an everyday basis. And then it's the school system's obligation to create the space and opportunity where engagement is easier for those families. Saying you must come to school and count that as engagement is not the right answer in this economy. It really is around, how can we create less barriers for engagement? Are we live streaming those meetings? Are we creating spaces where families can drop in digitally to those meetings? Are teachers and community school coordinators doing outreach and understanding families' schedules so that opportunities are presented at a time we can maximize that engagement? So I would say that they are, they care, they are engaged. We're just balancing priorities of existing in, systems of poverty that are really requiring families to make really difficult decisions. And we know a lot of families are cobbling together, family sustaining wages with 2 and 3 employment opportunities. So it's not even just that they have the one job that they have to think about. They're balancing 3 and 4 different schedules in order to keep, their family afloat.
What's Elev8 Baltimore's role in all of this?
Yeah. So our role is doing exactly what I've said, is to push schools, is to create the opportunities in schools for families to be engaged. It is working with partners to identify where there are gaps in programming in schools, where there's opportunities for families to have workforce development opportunities, resume building skills, opportunities for further employment. We also operate the South Baltimore Adult High School, which is one of only 2 adult high schools in the state of Maryland, providing a third pathway for high school completion for adults over the age of 21. So, and we're also working with families and communities around alternatives around behavioral health, social emotional learning, restorative practices, ensuring that we're creating spaces where everyone feels welcome in that community of learning and that families fully understand how they can show up. We're also creating spaces around after school and summer, focusing on literacy as a core component, using literacy as a point of liberation. We know that, they're not going to teach our young people everything in school. And as a Black-led organization, it is our obligation to ensure that young people have a full, well-rounded opportunity around literacy. So we, have been running our Freedom School program for over 15 years now. And it is part of my personal joy to see, 500 young people across Baltimore City reading, absorbing text, understanding things like, the Red Summer, and having those conversations around Black Wall Street, and understanding that these aren't just, issues and things that are in our past. These are things that are in our present. And, how are they going to then attach themselves to civic engagement because of that learning? That's what we're doing as an organization. And I'm really proud of the team that we have across 22 schools and programs in Baltimore City.
Alexandria, back in 2006, I was in Tanzania, and I got a chance to visit Pete and Charlotte O'Neill.
Mm-hmm.
Pete O'Neill is originally from Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken. And he had to leave the U.S. because they said he carried a gun from Kansas City, Kansas to Kansas City, Missouri, which is like just across the street.
Yeah.
But he's a Black Panther, and he's been living in exile since the 60s. It's my understanding that you are a fan of the Black Panthers also.
I am. I studied the Black Panther Party for self-defense in undergrad. I had the pleasure of meeting Eldridge Cleaver and speaking with him before his passing. We brought Bobby Seale to the Black Student Union at the university that I went to. That was, part of the joy of being on the West Coast, having that immediate proximity to Oakland and being able to tap into those individuals that as a student body, we were really just, excited about and was bringing fire to our campus. And it brought fire to my work as I've grown into a different kind of professional as I've aged over the years. And that's part of the reason why community schools is so important to me. I think about, the Black Panthers and their, breakfast initiative, free breakfast program. That is community schools. Sometimes we think about community schools, the origin of that being in social work. And I really challenge that theory, because it's not around the social workers in schools in New York that were doing really good things. It's really about a community grassroots effort that is thinking about, this is our community. These are our young people. How are we going to wrap around ourselves as a village? Taking those Afrocentric principles and applying them in modern society. So it is, and then when I moved to Baltimore, I learned even more about the Black Panther Party's presence in Baltimore and, in the headquarters at East Baltimore. And I used to walk by it every day on my way to the market to get my lunch from the school that I worked at. And it just reminds me every single day that our work is so important. And it's, we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, both, recent and far.
Alex, if I got out there as a Black man with a rather vocal personality, I don't know that white Baltimore would accept me all of that well. How are you able to talk about the Black Panthers and still run such an effective program? I mean, you haven't been labeled as radical, like Huey, like the Boondocks.
Yeah, well, I have. I am unapologetically who I am, and I serve at the pleasure of community, and I know who allows me to sit in this seat. It's community, and if I choose to not show up in the way that they expect me to, then I won't be in this seat. But it is, I am labeled, and I'm not always the favorite person in the nonprofit space. And folks will always say that, I will challenge and I will lift up structural racism and I will call it, racism. And I will say that these behaviors are racist behaviors. And if we choose to operate in this space, Elevate is going to choose to exit that space. And we have exited that space. And sometimes it comes with loss of funding. It comes with some respect and community, but it also comes with, some pain points as a leader of an organization. But I choose to not compromise my morals. I choose to not compromise the vision that community instilled in me and the vision that I have from my creator to do right in this world that I exist in.
Tell me about a success.
So one of my greatest successes right now is the work that we're doing in Sandtown, Harlem Park. I'm super excited that, we had the opportunity to win one of the inaugural grants of the governor's Enough grant program. And we are excited to take and build on the work that the community of Sandtown and Harlem Park have been doing for generations, to just say, all right, enough is enough. No puns intended, but it's time to elevate this work. It's time to bring community to the table. It's time to give them the power to make the decisions. It's time for them to have the purse strings and say, these are the organizations we want to fund. These are the initiatives that we believe are going to sustain our community. Like I said, I serve at the pleasure of community, and I'm a guest in these communities. I am not, I live in the community I live in West Baltimore, but I don't live in Sandtown and I don't live in Harlem Park. And so it would be arrogant of me to say that this is my vision. This is the community's vision. And, because I have a talent of writing and can write grants and secure resources, I'm using that talent through Elevate to lift up the communities. And I'm just really excited about the work in front of us. I'm excited that, there's going to be opportunities for every young person to be connected with something after school. And not all of it's going to be with Elevate. And that's the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a collective of organizations that have a North Star in mind, and they're working to move that forward.
Alex, I was the editor of the Sandtown newspaper. I've seen a cornucopia of nonprofits. They come to Sandtown. They're going to help the poor, uneducated, renters.
Yep.
Mostly African American. They're going to highlight the negative socioeconomic factors, the fact that 21217, you might as well call it the manufacturing plant for Maryland's incarcerated persons. 21217, 21216, 21205 on the east side. But we've seen you nonprofit people. You come here.
Yeah.
You're going to give the people vision.
Yeah.
You're going to use those fancy buzz terms: economic development, community empowerment, youth engagement. And all we know is at the end of the day, Sandtown looked the same damn way it did 30 years ago. And y'all live in Columbia some damn way.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I would say, the difference and the reason for that is folks are parachuting in to Sandtown and parachuting in communities like Sandtown and Harlem Park, and not acknowledging the good work that's already been there and is already happening. They think because they have a degree from Harvard or whatever, that they can just come in and say, we know what's best. I don't know what's best in Sandtown all the time. I have to put my ear to the street on a regular basis to ensure that I check myself, I check my privilege and that we are then doing work with community. I am not, I 100% believe on the back of Freddie Gray's death and murder, there was millions of dollars that came into that community, and none of it was sustained because there was not a coordinated effort. Those resources were not intended to work with community. They were intended to quiet community, and it did exactly what it needed to do for the period of time that it did. For the past 10 years, they've been quiet-ish. And now Sandtown as a collective and Harlem Park as a collective is saying no more. We don't want this. And rightfully so, the community is questioning nonprofits because there are organizations that their business is poor people. One of the things that I say to my team is that, our end goal, our ultimate outcome is to work ourselves out of business. There should be a time where Elevate Baltimore no longer exists because community got it. And they don't need us anymore in the same sort of way. That's a vision that I have for my organization that I lead, and the vision that I have for a community, that community can discern now what's fake and what's phony, and who's coming in to work with us, not do for us.
Did you have to read Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe?
I read it. I had to read it in undergrad as a part of one of my literature courses. And I'm super proud that that book actually shows up in our middle school curriculum. Elevate Freedom School is now a independent copyrighted curriculum that we use on an annual basis as a part of our summer initiative. And now we have young people that are reading that earlier and earlier. And yeah, I love that book. I was looking down to see if I have it right here next to me, but I don't. It's upstairs in my children's library.
So in terms of Things Fall Apart, that goes into colonialism in Africa. The European powers come in, they take all of the resources, send it back to Europe. And now we're in this stage of neo-colonialism.
Mm-hmm.
Here in the US, while the numbers are reversed, it's more white people than black people. But we've experienced other things like attrition, like brain drain, like migration from West Baltimore to Northwest Baltimore County. How do we heal a Sandtown? For instance, let me give you this. It is probably easier to get a white female to move to Sandtown than an upwardly mobile black female.
You are absolutely correct. That's an interesting concept and thought. How we heal a neighborhood is acknowledgement of harm. It's almost like, having a mini version of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, right? We need to acknowledge those that have caused harm, need to acknowledge that they have caused harm. And local philanthropy still cannot acknowledge that they have caused harm in Sandtown and Harlem Park, and in communities like Sandtown. In Park Heights, they've caused harm. In East Baltimore, they've caused harm. They've caused harm in Cherry Hill. Not being able to acknowledge that is part of the problem. In terms of, how do we get folks to come back, is we have to, come back and acknowledge that there are things, we're not perfect yet. This is not a perfect community. We're not utopia, but is any community a utopia? And, what are we doing together? How are we working together to ensure that folks feel the investment, feel safe, feel that we are working together? Everything isn't going to be perfect. Columbia wasn't Columbia 20 years ago, right? And I'm not from Maryland, but in Portland, Beaverton wasn't Beaverton 50 years ago. So, I know Columbia wasn't Columbia 20 years ago, right? So, how other communities were able to attract folks. Part of that is, Is it walkable? Are there parks? Are there safe spaces to play for young people? Is it attractive for young families to move in and grow their families in a community? And we need to have those conversations with ourselves around what our priorities are as a community. And then we also need to hold the city accountable to bringing some of those investments back to the neighborhoods, and not saying everything, why are we building, a multi-million-dollar, space in the harbor when we can be investing those dollars in State Center, so that folks in West Baltimore have access to opportunities.
Alex, are we practicing DEI in the Black community?
Yeah, I would say hard no, we're not. I would say
we're looking at Trump. Oh, Trump's the devil. His mother's Satan. His father is Satan. Elon Musk is diabolical. I think Elon Musk is a real idiot. I mean, he's digging up the moon. But we look at the vitriol, the hatred, the feelings that they evoke inside of us, the audacity to get rid of 500 jobs at a swipe and no remorse whatsoever. But are we? I mean, like, for instance, and Michael Randolph used to work here in Sandtown. He's down in Florida now. But, I look at, and I'm not against the Preakness.
no.
I think LeBron Finney and his, what do you call it, Afro Preak or something like that. That's nice. We don't mind seersucker suits and sundresses and black-eyed Susans.
Sure.
We like to see Black people enjoying the Preakness, but that's one day. And on that one day, Black eateries, Caribbean restaurants make no money on the day of the Preakness. But beyond that, there's money. All of these people come from all over the country to Park Heights. Yet the Black part of Park Heights looks like Baghdad.
Yeah, we are not practicing. We're not centering Black businesses. We're not centering Black grassroots leadership. We're not centering the communities that make up Baltimore. We are placating as a city to outside visitors who want to come in and enjoy the fanciness. And I too, I haven't even had a chance to experience Preakness. I used to live in Mount Washington, and the best I got was sitting outside doing a barbecue in the community and listening to the Preakness. But I've not had the opportunity to enjoy some of these, very nice experiences that come to the city as well. And, of course, community feels some kind of way. And is
it enough?
It's shameful.
Is it enough to give us a slice of watermelon, a little alcohol, a piece of fried chicken, when you're talking about all of that racetrack impact money that went into Park Heights, and all we saw, the same thing we saw in East Baltimore, was urban removal?
Say it.
Nobody went back.
Yeah. Gentrification is real. And if we're not sounding the alarm as leaders, saying this is gentrification, there is no way that we can do what we're doing and not say, let's be mindful. Yes, we want community development. Yes, we want better houses and better infrastructure in Park Heights and in Sandtown and in Cherry Hill. But no, it cannot be on the back of community being eradicated and erased and displaced and moved out to fill in the blank part of Baltimore County, Randallstown, or wherever. It has to be for us. It's almost like sometimes in my head, I'd be like, yo, FUBU, for us, by us. That is the only way that we are going to change Baltimore. We cannot continue to allow our elected officials and our leaders to bring in outsiders to say, this is how you need to do it. The expertise is here. The expertise sits in Sandtown. The expertise sits in Park Heights. And if we're not centering those leaders that understand that, then as a city, we're not doing anything to combat the federal vision and that feel that's coming into our city. We can be a heavily Democratic city all we want, but we still exist in this country, and we still have to navigate that.
I thank God for Donald Trump. I thank God that we have someone that audacious to show just how hateful some people are. Because honestly, we've gotten soft.
Yeah.
We've gotten soft on education. We've gotten soft on values. Many of us would rather be on TikTok with our daughter or with our granddaughter, teaching them vulgar words, when going to college is less important than them being cute.
Yeah.
What happened to our community? Well, why did it take a Donald Trump to get us on point?
History is cyclical, and we are experiencing the civil rights movement all over again. We're experiencing Reconstruction all over again. It just is. We're doing it in a modern time.
We're doing it with a Benz.
Exactly. So and we've been. I think there are a couple of things that I think around this notion of why we are in the space that we are in right now. One, we have decided that personal wealth and personal gain is better than the uplifting of our communities. And I'm not suggesting that
we sellouts.
I'm not suggesting that it's not somebody doesn't want nice things. I want nice things, and I want.
Was Eldridge Cleaver a sellout?
I think Eldridge Cleaver was a complex individual that was operating with a very advanced mind in a space that was
close. Black Panthers sellouts?
I don't think that they were sellouts. I think that they did what they could with the resources that they had. And
I remember seeing some cats with some shotguns, making the pigs back up and show some respect. Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the things that was probably one of the contributing factors outside of J. Edgar Hoover and his machine attacking the Panther Party was the lack of discipline in the rank and file. So the leadership had a lot of discipline, but rank and file didn't have a lot of discipline. And that's the work that we're trying to do now as part of the revolutionary efforts that, Black-led organizations, grassroots organizations are doing, is understanding discipline and teaching that discipline at all levels. So as a leader, I must be disciplined in how I move through society. And my staff, even as far down as our part-time learning coaches, there needs to be a level of discipline. How we move needs to be disciplined. And if we're not going to be disciplined in that movement, we're subject to prey. Divide and conquer is the best strategy to destroy a community, is to divide it and then conquer it, and then place resources in a space that it's easy to manage, manipulate, control. Excuse me.
Would Kathleen Cleaver take this crap that we're getting in Baltimore? I mean, she was one of my favorites. And let's not forget, Angela Davis.
A sister with a soul and a spirit that can ignite a people.
Asada Shakur.
Yeah. No, I don't believe that they would. No, they would not sit here and do this. But what right now, I think what we need inside game, we need outside game. I need people like Angela's, and I need, all of those folk on the outside pushing, holding us accountable, holding me accountable, telling us what it is, reminding us who gives us authority. And then I need folks on the inside. I need those that are in city government to turn those levers. I need those that are in nonprofits to say, yeah, not on my watch. I need folks in philanthropy, particularly individuals of color in philanthropy, to say, yeah, no, this is not how I am going to move as a individual that has access to resources that can improve the lives of children and families in this country. We have to have an inside-outside game. It's the art of war. And we are at war.
When you look at Pedagogy of the Oppressed by Paulo Freire, it talks about the oppressed taking on the mindset, the mentality of the oppressed. It's kind of like Patty Hearst syndrome. She's starting to identify with their kidnappers. And I go back to the point made earlier about, are we our worst enemy? Are we practicing DEI in the community? What are your thoughts on a 72 square block community in West Baltimore where Black elected officials historically won't go because they view us as non-voters collectively?
It's shameful. It's shameful. And, you know, as a collective, that's when we need to say, yeah, no. And we need to vote those folks out, because that is the democratic way in the terms of, you know, how we operate in this country. You know, we can't continue to allow people to sit in spaces of leadership that don't represent our values, that don't fully understand that they are our employees. And if you're not doing what we want you to do, then you must go. And I'm not, and that's all the way up to the federal level. If you are not doing what the people want, then the people must vote you out. And we can't continue to listen to their rhetoric. We can't listen to their empty promises to say, this is what we're going to do for you down the road when we get around to you. No, sir, no, ma'am. Not why Miss Alex is sitting around here, not why I have a voice, not why my creator has given me the power to acknowledge, understand, and ask questions and inquire and dig deep and understand root causes. No, thank you.
Do you think if Baltimore's public school system were majority white, do you think white parents would accept what we as Black parents have accepted for decades?
Come on, Doni, you know the answer to that, and I'm gonna lean in. No, absolutely not. Not any other demographic would be allowed to be treated the way Black children are treated in this country. Absolutely not. Because we're seen as disposable. Our children are seen as disposable.
Why do you care?
Young people didn't ask to be here. It is my full desire to ensure that young people understand that they are wanted and that they are cared for, no matter what their life circumstances, no matter what demographic they were born into, no matter what their color is of their skin is. But my fight is particularly for Black and brown children. But all children need to fully understand who they want to be, and they need to be given that space. Affluent children have all the time to learn who they're going to be, to test things out, to have gap years, to travel to Europe. Why our children are no different. I want Black children in Baltimore to be able to have a gap year and to be comfortable. I want them to not have to worry about.
What's a gap year?
Gap year is when you graduate from high school and you don't know what you want to do, so you go gallivanting all around to Europe and explore and learn who you are. I want those things for our children. If they want it, I want that for them. I want them to be able to say, I want to go to North Carolina A&T. I want them to go to Howard. I want them to go to Morgan. I want them to go to Coppin. And I want them to go there because they choose to go there, not because they think that's their only choice. They have the sky is their limit. And I love children. I love children more than adults sometimes. But what I love about young people is that if you pour into them, they will pour into you.
Here comes Michael Randolph again. I told you he's the guru. Nonprofits need to move from begging grants to earn income model.
Yeah.
Well, why is Baltimore such a nonprofit town? I mean, we're right up there with New York, and I know if you get one of those big guys in Baltimore, if you get on their list, then they cut you off from funding from other sources. Is what do they call it? A
nonprofit industrial complex.
A complex.
Yeah. Yeah. It's big business. Nonprofit.
They all know each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And quiet as it's kept, they're making money. They are making big dollars and have a lot of access. I think part of the reason why Baltimore is such a space of nonprofits is, one, we have a concentration of national and local philanthropy here. So there's a lot of wealth that sits down in around Baltimore City.
Where's that? I remember, and I'm not going to slam the former mayor.
Yeah.
But I am going to point out, we invested in a Hot Wheels track. We invested in a Hot Wheels track downtown. Bill Cole and Kiefer Mitchell came up with this brilliantly stupid idea. We're going to run Indy 500 Grand Prix cars around downtown. And you know what? We're going to take that money from the Rex.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to build a hotel too. Don't forget about that hotel. We're going to make sure that hotel is nice.
And a hotel that's not, what does he say? That's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Has that Hilton Hotel ever been self-sufficient?
You know, I
mean, we talk about these nonprofits. Is the Hilton Hotel self-sufficient?
Yeah.
Martin O'Malley's idea. Not that he's a business person.
No.
I'm sure he can count his money.
Sure. I mean, it's also the story. It's also the story of Harbor East, like how Harbor East magically.
Oh my God! Is that Baltimore?
It don't look like Baltimore.
That's
don't feel like Baltimore.
No, it's not Baltimore.
Yeah, and you know, and it's creeping further and further up. You know, Perkins is gone. And, you know, and I'm not suggesting that we keep people impoverished living in the project, so to speak, but the houses.
I'm just getting ready to buy all of that and turn that into condos, and you black people won't ever be able to go back to East Baltimore.
Right. Exactly.
Except to help B. Gaddy Center.
Exactly.
That's the only way you're going back to East Baltimore. They're going. I went to Dunbar.
Okay.
And Johns Hopkins usurps parking. You now have to pay to park in front of Dunbar. That's how diabolically evil these people are. We forget that they stole billions from Henrietta Lacks's family.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We know the devil.
And the institution continues to just say we're sorry and not acknowledge. I have said in a variety of spaces, you know, Hopkins is problematic and has been problematic for years. And, you know, to my earlier point around truth and reconciliation, I am not interested unless we are having a conversation around how do we repair harm that was done. That's not with an award or a scholarship.
Give up that money. Give us some scholarships to anybody in East Baltimore who wants to study medicine. Do you remember Something the Lord Made?
Say again?
Do you remember the film? HBO, Something the Lord Made.
Oh, no. I don't remember that film.
Mos Def played Vivian Thomas. Vivian Thomas was David Blaylock's assistant.
Yeah.
And in that film, Mos Def was training Hopkins doctors on baby blue blood disease or something like that. Something the Lord Made. Check it out.
I will. I'm gonna.
So he trained these Hopkins doctors. but I'm going back to my comment earlier about are we practicing DEI? He gets up to Morgan. He's trained these Hopkins doctors. And you would figure Morgan would move him along. Morgan, when he wanted to get his degree, Morgan said, you're going to take this biology 101.
Boy, oh boy. Yeah. We don't do right by each other. We don't do right.
Are we practicing DEI?
We don't do right by each other, Donnie. We know we don't do, and then we quietly just take it. We quietly take it and just find another route. At what point as a community are we going to rise up and say, yeah, you are the problem? And some of those yous are not all white people, not all skin folk or kin folk.
Gatekeepers in
Some
the Black community.
Some of us need to sit down and move out of the way. And that's also around age and tenure. We need to get out of the way sometimes as adults, hold space for young people and youth leadership. I was a youth leader. Space was held for me. Why are we not holding the same space for young people to rise up? Because we're too enamored with power. Too enamored with power. We want to hold on to power too. We learn from our oppressors. Come on now.
I'm going down to CIAA.
Okay.
Last year when I went, I saw a lot of empty seats in a basketball town.
Yeah.
That tells me somebody doesn't know the community. There's no way I'm gonna allow you to bring your $30 million conference to my city and I don't have every seat in this arena packed. I should be able to make a phone call and say we need 30,000, we need 5,000 people to fill these seats right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Embarrassing.
And you know why those seats are empty? One, because the folks in the community are not welcome. Two, they don't provide transportation. Now, we get, as an organization, they'll say, hey, Elevate, you want all these tickets to the CIAA? Cool. How are my families supposed to get there? Come on now. We are operating in a system with broken transportation. We are operating in a city with no transportation. And then you want me to, how is community supposed to mass get downtown to watch a game that they really do want to watch? And their young people want to see. But Alex, there's no way to get down there.
Alex, with all due respect to those people that push the red line, it's kind of difficult to fix something that was broken when it was created. We have the dumbest subway system in the world. It is the dumbest. It is the dumbest. It's not egalitarian. It's the stupidest subway system in the entire world.
But you know who it works for? It works for Hopkins.
And they have a very clean subway station.
Yeah, and the folks that work at Hopkins that live in Owings Mills have a nice, easy commute to work every single day.
But it's not egalitarian. If you live in Morgan State University, public transportation is not even in the equation.
Absolutely.
How can people join Elevate? How can people be a part? Why don't you let me give you a chance to do your spiel and see what people, Michael Randolph, please. I'm glad. How people can get involved in Elevate. And we appreciate what you do. And thank you for your help here in Sandtown, Winchester, and Harlem.
Oh, it's my pleasure. How you can get involved with Elevate is to reach out to us. We have volunteer opportunities. We have employment opportunities. You can find us on www.elevate, Baltimore.org, or you can send us an email, info@elevate elevate8baltimore.org. Happy to connect with anybody who is interested in getting involved in the movement. Like I said, we have volunteer opportunities. We have after 22 schools and programs that we partner with, as well as 11 after school programs that we currently are looking to ensure that they're fully enrolled. If you're interested in being a mentor to a young person, our middle and high school mentoring program would love to have you. So please just reach out to us. Happy to connect with folks. You can also follow us on all social media, Elevate Be More. And that's how you can connect with us. Thank you so very much, Doni, for the opportunity to talk with you. Your conversations invigorate me. I almost need you every morning in order to get my day started so I can be grounded in who I need to be on a daily basis.
We're blessed to have you, Alex. Thank you for the work you're doing, and thank you for looking out for Sandtown in particular.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you.
Good morning, world.